The world I was born into was small, sheltered, and bathed in the golden warmth of my father's unconditional love. As the eldest daughter of a prosperous businessman in Narayanganj, my life was a meticulously curated sanctuary. I never knew the sting of deprivation or the harshness of an angry voice. My father, a man who commanded respect in our community, treated me like fragile porcelain. In my entire childhood, the harshest punishment I ever received was a half-hearted scolding from my mother. I was a princess in a kingdom built just for me, completely unaware of how quickly the walls of such a kingdom could crumble. I believed that all people were inherently good, and that the world was a safe place designed to protect young girls like me. Innocence, however, is not a shield, it is a target. The fracture in my perfect reality began with something as ordinary as a hospital visit. I was barely 15, a teenager just starting the 9th grade, visiting a sick relative. The air was thick with the smell of antiseptic and illness. Yet, it was there that the suffocating weight of an unwanted gaze first fell upon me. I looked up to find a young man staring at me. He was 24, an adult who worked in the distant city of Sylhet, possessing distinct, deep-set, bluish eyes that locked onto me with an unnerving intensity. To a girl my age, attention from an older boy felt momentarily flattering, a flutter of naive vanity. I smiled back, completely ignorant of the predatory nature of his interest. I thought it was a fleeting moment. I was entirely wrong. That brief exchange ignited a terrifying obsession. He began stalking me. He followed me when I went out with my younger sister, tracked down the name of my school, and through relentless persistence, managed to acquire my mother's phone number. When he finally confessed his intentions of marriage, the reality of the situation washed over me like ice water. I was a child. I had no desire to be a wife. I told him with absolute clarity, rejecting his advances, telling him that while we could perhaps speak as friends, marriage was an absolute impossibility for me. I believed my words would end it. I did not understand that to a certain kind of man, a woman's refusal is not a boundary to be respected, but a challenge to be conquered. For 6 long months, he waged a silent war for my possession. He rejected over 200 prospective brides, chosen by his wealthy family, declaring that he would only marry the schoolgirl from Narayanganj. He was building a web, and I was the unsuspecting prey. The trap snapped shut on a seemingly ordinary afternoon. Under the guise of a harmless introduction, his mother requested that I visit their home. My parents were completely oblivious, accompanied only by a young, similarly naive cousin. I stepped across the threshold of their house, unknowingly walking into a carefully orchestrated nightmare. At first, the illusion of warmth was blinding. His mother treated me with overwhelming affection. She fed me expensive sweets by hand, gently brushed my hair, and spoke to me with a sweetness that disarmed my natural defenses. It felt like an honor to be cherished by this family. But as the hours stretched on and the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting long, dark shadows across the room, the atmosphere mutated. When I nervously stood up and stated that I needed to return home before my parents worried, the smiles instantly vanished from their faces. The doors were quietly, firmly shut. The boy who claimed to love me, his mother, and his aunt surrounded me. The romantic facade shattered, revealing sheer coercion. They told me that I was not allowed to leave. They threatened me, their voices low and sharp, warning that if I walked out that door without marrying him, they would file criminal charges against my father. They would drag my family's pristine reputation through the mud. and destroy my father's standing in the community. Panic, cold and absolute, seized my throat. I fell to the floor, grasping at their feet, sobbing and begging them to let me go home. I was just a girl, terrified and alone, drowning in an ocean of adult manipulation. They ignored my tears. A cleric was summoned to the house, with no witnesses from my own family, no one to advocate for me, and paralyzed by the fear of ruining my father, I was forced into a verbal marriage contract. My childhood ended that evening, stolen by the very people who claimed to adore me. When my father finally located me the next day, the sight of his brokenness tore my soul apart. He, a strong, proud man, wept openly at the realization of what had been done to his daughter. But the societal trap had been set perfectly to save our family's honor, and out of a desperate fear for my safety, my father was forced to formally register the marriage. I was packed up and sent to live with my new in-laws, severing me from the only life I had ever known. The fairy tale they had promised was a brutal, humiliating lie. My husband immediately returned to his job in Sylhet, abandoning me in a reality I was utterly unequipped to survive. The grand life they had boasted about was a facade. I was brought to a rural mud house, a stark contrast to my comfortable home, with its attached, tiled bathrooms and constant electricity. Here, the bathroom was a shed outside. Here, I was not a princess. I was an unpaid laborer. I was forced to sweep endless piles of dry leaves and struggle to light a traditional mud stove. The smoke burned my eyes and choked my lungs, a daily, physical manifestation of my new, suffocating existence. The physical labor, however, was a minor inconvenience compared to the relentless psychological torment inflicted upon me by my mother-in-law and grandmother-in-law. They made it their daily mission to dismantle my self-esteem piece by piece. They scrutinized my appearance with cruel, loud whispers. I was too short, they said. My skin was too dark. My facial features were ugly. I wasn't the beautiful, perfect daughter-in-law they felt they deserved. Their words were like venom, slowly poisoning my mind. I remember locking myself in my room, laying my prayer mat on the floor, and sobbing into the fabric. I would beg God, crying out, asking why He had made me so ugly, why He had made me so dark, pleading with Him to just magically make me beautiful so the cruelty would stop. I was a child desperately trying to find a way to survive in a house that hated my very existence. I clung to the desperate hope that when my husband visited, he would see my suffering and protect me. But when he returned every 2 or 3 months, he did not come as a savior. He came as an executioner. His mother would fill his ears with exaggerated tales of my incompetence and disrespect. Instead of questioning her, instead of looking at his exhausted teenage wife, he chose violence. I will never forget the first time he struck me. He burst into the room, his eyes blazing with a fury I had never seen, screaming that I had made his mother cry. He didn't ask for my side of the story. He simply rained heavy, brutal slaps across my face. The physical shock was paralyzing, but the emotional betrayal was terminal. The man who had supposedly loved me enough to tear me from my family was now beating me to appease his mother. By the time I was 16, a child myself, I discovered I was pregnant. The terror of impending motherhood was compounded by the hostile environment I was trapped in. There was no joy, no celebration, no tender care that a pregnant woman deserves. Instead, there was just more isolation. The cruelty extended even to the unborn child in my womb. When an ultrasound halfway through the pregnancy revealed I was carrying a girl, the disappointment from my husband's family was palpable and suffocating. I remember the rickshaw ride home from the clinic that day. The silence between my husband and me was heavier than the humid air. I looked at his hardened profile, my heart breaking for the baby girl inside me. Trembling, I dared to ask, "Are you not happy because it's a girl?" He didn't answer with words. Without a moment's hesitation, he swung his hand and slapped me hard across the face, right there in the open street for everyone to see. The stinging pain on my cheek was nothing compared to the sickening realization that my daughter was about to be born into a world where her own father despised her simply for being female. After my daughter was delivered via C-section, my husband's neglect became absolute. He provided no financial support, no emotional presence, and no fatherly care. I moved back into my parents' house, surviving solely on their boundless grace and financial support. My father paid for my medical bills. My mother helped raise my baby. When my husband eventually demanded I return to his house, it wasn't out of a desire to see me or his daughter. It was an ultimatum wrapped in a threat. He announced he was moving to Saudi Arabia for work. His parting command was chilling. "I need a son. Give me a boy before I leave, or you can get out of my house." I was cornered, economically dependent, and terrified of the stigma of divorce. I gave him the son he demanded. And true to his nature, as soon as the boy was born, he boarded a plane to the Middle East, washing his hands of us completely. He would send a meager 4,000 or 5,000 taka a month, barely enough to buy milk, let alone sustain a family. I was left alone again, an incubator who had fulfilled her purpose. Discarded and forgotten. It was in the quiet, desperate nights, watching my two beautiful, innocent children sleep, that the fog of the past 6 years finally began to lift. I looked at my daughter growing older and realized with terrifying clarity that if I stayed, I would be teaching her that a woman's lot in life is to be beaten, starved of affection, and treated as property. I looked at my son and realized I could not let him grow up think